What is going on, people? We are back for UFC Baku, Makai's money making plays. This video, we're going to go through the lock of the week, my most confident picks, favorite underdogs, and then we'll wrap it up with the parlays, my favorite section, your favorite section, my money making plays. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get this video underway. All right, so looking back at UFC Atlanta, we dared to be great, went with a pretty high confidence underdog for me. We picked Cody Garbrandt. Was unfortunate, was not able to get the job done. Doesn't really deter me from picking underdogs though. That's, the whole point of this segment, in my opinion, at least for me, is to highlight, highlight an underdog, which I believe is going to have a high probability of winning. And, sometimes you gotta dare to be great. You're gonna lose some, you're gonna win some. Currently, we are sitting at 8-6 overall. Still positive, but hey, I would like to get back on a nice little run that we had. We went 4 weeks straight cashing on some pretty solid underdogs. And I think Baku could get us right back on the right foot. Before UFC Atlanta, we did hit pretty solid with the parlay of Kevin Holland moneyline and Patchy Mix versus Mario Batista to go the distance. Gave us a nice little parlay lock, our first ever parlay lock of the week to hit on this channel. But I think we're going right back to what this segment was originated from, and that's the underdog. So we don't need to waste any more time. I got one in mind, and we're going to target him for UFC Baku. So here is UFC Baku's lock of the week.
For the winner by unanimous decision, Ismail Nordiev.
Ismail Nordiev plus 170 lock of the week. When I was going through who I was going to pick, there was a few guys that I highlighted, but I feel as though Ismail coming through on his second UFC stint, I think he looks a lot better than what he did originally. And, he was fighting at 170, also fought at a few catch weights of 175 prior in his, his first original UFC run. Now up at middleweight, he looks to be a lot healthier. The gas tank looks a lot better. He's, putting his combinations together a lot better. I think he can hang with, a majority of the UFC middleweight division. And one of those guys I believe he could beat is Jun Young Park, who is 34 years old. He's been solid, throughout his stint in the UFC, but he's also coming off a split decision win over Brad Tavares, who was knocked out by Bruno Silva, which is what Ismail Nardiev's last victory was, utter domination. Wasn't able to finish Bruno Silva, but Bruno Silva has always been, a tough candidate. I'm not saying that to mention like, oh, Ismail beat Bruno beat Brad Tavares beat, or, Jun Young went to a tough split decision with Brad Tavares. MMA math doesn't always work, but it is something that you have to include when you're doing, your little analysis. But looking at the matchup, I think, Ismail is in a really good spot to show off his strengths. He can strike from outside really well in this matchup. Jun Young Park likes to close the distance, uses dirty boxing, grapple, wrestle, take you down, and sit on your back. I don't think he's going to be able to do this. I think Ismail looks physically strong at 185. I think his gas tank might be a little better than Jun Young Park's. Like I said, striking from long distance, he's going to chop at the legs a lot. I think he has a better jab. And when they clinch up, I think he might be able to be the stronger guy in the clinch. I think Ismail has the better offensive wrestling. His grappling is solid, does have a few submission victories. And I like Ismail's striking a lot better than Jun Young Park. Jun Young Park, I've picked him a lot of times, and he's, he has won me some money. But I feel as though, what is his cap at? Or what's his cap in the UFC? You know what I'm saying? I think the Brad Tavares split decision victory could be his best victory in the UFC. He did lose to Andre Muniz. He's got a few middle of the pack type of wins, but I think Ismail Nordiev is headed not necessarily like top 15, but I do think he could be a top 20 middleweight in the world. And I feel as though a win over Jun Young Park this week will definitely get him there. So give me Ismail Nordiev for the lock of the week plus 170. I think there's great odds, and I think we will see the line move along with some of the other guys that are, some solid underdogs on this card as well. We do have big movement on one of them as well that I will mention in the favorite underdog segment. But let's not skip ahead. Let's move up to the most confident picks. I got them here on the screen. Oban Elliott, Nazim Sadikov, and Mitabek Orlabai. Starting with Oban Elliott, he is fighting Seokyeon Ko, who is a pretty solid kickboxer. He does stand straight up, though, and you can take a picture of him and he'll be in the same spot. With that being said, I feel as though Oban Elliott will be able to find a finish. I like Oban Elliott striking a lot more. He can grapple. I think he might be able to, secure a choke in this fight as well. But I do think Oban finds a knockout. When they exchange the combinations, Seokyeon Ko's head is going to remain on the center line, and I think Oban's going to be able to time that and find a really nasty tight hook inside the pocket. So give me Oban Elliott by knockout. I want to say maybe second round. It could be a third round finish like he did to Basil or Fez. But I do expect Oban Elliott, who has been, both of these guys have been prepared, for the past month with this fight being squashed and rebooked, sort of. They were both supposed to fight other guys on the same card that they were on. But Oban looks to be, in impeccable shape. I actually follow him on X, formerly known as Twitter. And I'm watching his training footage, and he looks like he's ready to go. So give me Oban Elliott, super high confident, minus 550. I mean, obviously the books are telling you what's supposed to happen. So I do have a lot of confidence in Oban Elliott. I feel as though he's live for a finish as well. Next up, we got Nazim Sadikov sitting at minus 440. I do feel as though Nazim is live for a finish as well. Nicholas Moda is primarily a Muay Thai striker. He has also, moved to another training camp or training facility that specializes in Muay Thai. Seems to be that's the only thing that he thinks he needs to work on. But obviously, there's other holes in his game. Speaking of which, I feel as though Nazim will be able to box him up in the pocket. I feel as though when they tie up, Nazim will be able to get him down. I think Nazim could find a submission, a knockout. I do feel as though Nazim is live for a finish. I do think he beats Nicholas Moda by finish. Probably violently, too. Moda has a really big head. It's hard to miss. With that being said, we've seen him knocked out before. Manuel Torres caught him blitzing in with that nasty elbow. Beautiful elbow. I feel as though Nazim could, recreate something like that. Muay Thai guys, if you're not a super specialist, which I don't think, or what I have seen from Nicholas Moda, he's not. It's going to be hard for you to beat these guys who can mix it up super well. You look at, Khalil Rountree when he came back from, I believe he went to Thailand to, learn Muay Thai. His first fight, when he actually got the Muay Thai down pack fighting Eric Anders, he looked like a monster. But he was, able to be figured out a few times since then. And Nicholas Moda, he has not changed his style since. So give me Nazim Sadikov. Do believe he gets a finish as well. And minus 440, pretty heavy tag on him as well. Now to wrap up the most confident picks, we got Mitabek Orlabai sitting at minus 170. I know Tofik Musayev is a really high favorite. He's also the hometown guy, but I feel as though Mitabek is a tough guy to beat, man. The Rebeshki fight, that fight was at, I believe it was 165 or 160. So they both didn't have to fight, or they both didn't have to fight. They both didn't have to cut the extra 5 pounds, which I believe is what gave Rebeshki, a slight power advantage. He was able to take a lot more damage as well, too. They both were tired at the end of that fight. But we saw Orlabai, be able to recover after getting cracked. His eye was shut. Almost got finished in that third round. Was able to recover and, get Rebeshki on his back. Mitabek Orlabai, I feel as though he has a pretty solid grappling advantage in his fight, too. The straight shots are better. I will say Tufik might be slightly faster in the striking, but Mitabek makes up with that. With his coaches do a really well job. They were telling him to watch out for the overhand, I believe it was a left from Rebeshki, and he noticed that he wasn't fast enough to counter that, to pull it, and he switched it up and, decided to throw an uppercut that landed a few times on Rebeshki. So he's pretty smart as well. He doesn't really look like, a really intelligent guy. He looks like he was the first man ever made, but Mitabek Orlabai is a solid fighter. He does not give up on himself. And I'm not giving up on him here against Tofik Musayev, making his UFC debut at 35 years old. So give me Mitabek Orlabai minus 170, solid piece. Throw him in a parlay too. Moving on to the favorite underdog. So I only got two for this segment, and that is Rafael Fiziev and Rizvan Kuniev. Rafael Fiziev sitting at plus 105. I think this is going to be a hell of a fight. I think it could be one of those fight of the year contenders. Ignacio Bahamondes is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC currently. He's young, he's hungry. The striking is elite. But I feel as though Fiziev will have the speed advantage. I think he'll be able to close the distance a lot better than a Bahamondes does. We saw, that he added some wrestling to his game, got Justin Gaethje down, which was a surprise to everybody and a surprise to Justin Gaethje, who has really solid takedown defense. I think that might have been, one of the only times we saw Justin Gaethje taken down too. And he was controlled for about a minute, 2 minutes into that first round. I think Fiziev will definitely mix it up in this fight. And we have to remember that this is a full camp Fiziev. I know the Justin Gaethje fight looked like what it looked like, but that was also short notice, and that was his first fight back from tearing his ACL, MCL, whatever the injury was. He still looked to have a lot of speed. The body kicks were nice. I know he will be at a big height and reach disadvantage, but like I said, I think Rafael Fiziev might be the sharper blade in this fight. Bahamondes does throw a lot of I would say his kicks are better than his punches, but when you're throwing kicks against a guy who is as sharp as Fiziev is, he can counter, especially like the leg kicks, with a solid jab, with a solid, right cross. I think Fiziev will look a lot better. I do expect this fight to go the distance and probably be, a razor thin decision. But I feel as though Rafael Fiziev will show out for his people. Might be the only, him and Sadikov probably be the only two of the three, as Becker Stan, I can't really pronounce it, but the hometown guys to get a W on this card. So give me Rafael Fiziev, slight plus money underdog. I like him too. Almost was the lock of the week. So solid consideration for him. Next up, we got Rizvan Kuniev. Like I said, the UFC has booked this fight 3 times over, and I feel as though that's a telltale that we need to be on the watch for Kuniev. I do think he wins this fight. I'm not saying he will, clearly knock out Curtis Blades. I think he will be faced with a little bit of difficulty, especially in the wrestling department. But we have to remember Curtis Blades is chinny. Granted, it's been from, Derek Lewis. It's been from Tom Aspinall. It's been from Sergey Pavlovich, excuse me. But I'm not a big believer in Curtis Blades and anymore. His last true win, granted, the Jailton Almeida knockout, you could call it what it was. It was a little weird too. Some of those elbows might have been to the back of the head, but his last true win was Chris Dawkins, which was back in like 2022. That was the last time we saw. Do we want to call it prime Curtis Blades? You know what I'm saying? I don't think this is a prime Curtis Blades going up against Kuniev. And, the last time they were supposed to fight, Blades had to pull out with a sickness. I think Kuniev is live in this fight. I think he can defend majority of the takedowns. I think his striking looks a lot better. I think he's going to use that teep to the body, sting him up there. Definitely drain the gas early. Probably utilize some low kicks. And I think they're definitely going to spend a lot of time in a clinch too. Who has the advantage there? I'll go Kuniev. I think he can get Blades up against the fence. It's just, will Blades be able to reverse the position, drop down for a double, and then we see Kuniev on his back? You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying Blades is washed. I just don't think this is a prime version of him. And I feel as though I'm going along with the narrative that the UFC is trying to push, booking this fight 3 times. So give me Rizvan Kuniev, big underdog, plus 220. Also had some consideration, but wasn't going to use him for the lock of the week. Too outlandish. So give me Rizvan Kuniev for another underdog. Moving on to my favorite segment, your favorite segment, Makai's Money Making Plays. Let's get it started with Oban Elliott, Nazim Sadikov, and Mohamed Naimov money line, plus 104. I got a lot of confidence in that one. I feel as though all 3 of these guys are definitely going to win. Maybe inside the distance for, both of the guys that I got on the most confident picks, but I feel as though Naimov could definitely get it done. I'll lean decision for Mohamed Naimov. Then we're going to Tagir Ulanbekov, Mitubek Orlabai money line. That's super safe, plus 107. Ulanbekov taking on Azat Maxim. I feel as though he could get it done in that one. And Orlabai is super confident guy for me. Next up, we are going with a sneaky play here. We got Rountree and Fiziev double, main event and co-main event. I think Fiziev is live, man, as a sneaky little underdog, and then Khalil Rountree, I think he could get Jamal Hill out of there. So, little sneaky play right there. Then we're going over 1.5 in the Hill versus Rountree, Orlabai money line, and then Oban Elliott inside the distance. I think there's a really high possibility of this one happening. Plus 560. Then we got Mohamed Naimov decision, Fiziev versus Bahamondes goes the distance, and then Ulanbekov to win by decision plus 775. I'm gonna up the stakes on that one. Definitely trying to put some bankroll in our pocket. And then we're going Melissa Mullins money line, Orlabai by sub, and then Rizvan Kuniev by knockout plus 4177. We're headed to the bank with that one. So yeah, I really like, the methods on that last play, especially. Mullins, I do think she's live for a finish. Orlabai, like I said, I like his grappling a lot better than Tawfiq Musayev. I think he could find a late third round finish after he gasses him out, wears him out. And then Kuniev, I could see him, stinging up Curtis Blades' chin. And like I said, I don't believe Curtis Blades is the same Curtis Blades that we saw, years ago. I think that chin has been tested, and I think it might be fading. Or faded, rather say that. So that's what I got for this week's Makai's Money Making Plays. Let me know what you guys think of the lock of the week. If you want me to change up what I'm doing. I like the underdog money. I like plus money when I'm throwing, some solid cash down. So let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree, if you like the parlays, if you agree with the most confident picks, if you think I'm sleeping on an underdog. Let me know in the comments. If you don't got nothing to say, just drop a W in the chat. And I will make this announcement. I will not be doing a weigh-in recap or a full card review. I am taking my family on a vacation this weekend. Headed to Disney. So if you guys follow me on social media, I got it, posted up above. You can follow me on X at FN_picks, or you can follow me on TikTok, Fight Night Picks. Make sure you guys tune in there. I'll do a quick recap on both of those. I'll post it up there for you guys while I'm out in Orlando, spending time with the family. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you guys for the next card. See you later.